I come from a poor family, yeah. We ain't never had a lot, yeah. But the Lord been good to us, yeah. Now we riding on the top, yeah. I come from a poor family.
Let's just kick this off, Ray. We want to welcome Brian Enamoto. Did I say it right?
Yep.
I had met him through the grapevine. Basically, just trying to look for new, innovative ways of construction because we're lacking inventory, resources, and even people to produce the amount of homes and projects that we need to here as things are developing to better our islands and our communities. And so this new, it's not even new. I want to say it's not new, which is a good sign because it shows it has what we're going to talk about here is it has history. It has it's established. It's a working product. I got invited to the island of Kauai to visit. Me and Tiffany go visit. They had a big showing of this product and just going to one of the homes being built and get to see it live. And I just was like, I don't know, was it about 4 or 5 months ago?
Yep, 4 months ago.
Yeah, 4 months ago. And, it's been inventory in my brain just since then, just really thinking about how to mass produce. And like, it's not even my product, but I'm thinking bigger picture. And so we invited Brian here just to educate everyone on this product, number one, but also educate of what it can do for our islands as builders. And it's what we're talking about, if you can show, because this is a visual, but it's called a SIPP panel, which is a structural insulated panel. Brian, I'm gonna let you just go on your little role of explaining what this is, but it's amazing what I seen over there in Kauai, where they literally lifted a home in like 2 days. They probably have a lot of little, tie-ins and stuff that last a couple of weeks, but the big eye candy, like it was done in a few days, and it's amazing product. It saves in cost, it saves in time, it's better. There's a lot of things that I want to even continue to learn about it. But yeah, if you don't mind giving a little spiel about just what this is and what you're doing and what you represent.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on first and foremost. Super passionate about what we have here.
Yes, you are. And that's a good thing. It's really a good thing. I can't wait for people to hear what this is.
Mm-hmm. And so SIPs have been around all the way since 1930. Frank Lloyd Wright had been toying around with a version of it. And that house still looks beautiful today. And I think that's really important because bringing something in new and then trying to pass it through county is going to be impossible. But this has been tested and it's withstood places like Alaska for 60 years. And we're building a whole community over in Antarctica right now, which is going to have to sustain 170 mile per hour wind speeds. So you look at those things, you go, okay, that makes a lot of sense. We have hurricanes. We have a lot of, our climate's pretty mild, but we face a lot of difficult challenges here. The really nice part about this is it's one of the greenest ways to build from start to finish, all the way from what OSB is. And there's other types of SIPs. There's metal SIPs. There's different things. But we really wanted the wood OSB SIPs because that is the greenest way to build from start to finish.
Explain what that means.
Okay, so on that part for OSB, oriented strand board is a bunch of small diameter trees that get mulched up and then laminated together. And that lamination process is what actually makes it really strong. So you can take a really weak tree and then create strength out of that. And then the EPS foam is 100% steam expanded. And so it's one of the greenest forms of insulation. And that continuous insulation throughout that whole building now lets no air leak. And so our buildings can be, you have a perm rating of one or less. And so Energy Star actually for SIPs has said you don't have to do a blower door test to show how energy efficient you are. So from that perspective of how everything is made, it's extremely green. And then the really cool part is even in the plant, they either use or recycle 99% of the material. And if, you guys running a construction company, you know what your bins look like when you're just doing the framing section.
Sometimes I just watch that thing go in and out and I was like, demo's done. What's up? But you're correct. And this product, what is your piece? Like, are you actually, you sell the product or you represent the company in the mainland, or like what's your piece in this product and how to get it here to Hawaii?
Perfect. So for right now, we are the distributors for
Distributor.
Hawaii.
Yeah,
from
gotcha.
Premier SIPs. We are in talks locally with different groups, trying to make sure that we're finding the right location to be able to bring manufacturing to Hawaii. And that's a huge thing for us is, okay, if we can reduce the shipping costs or if we can manufacture these 100% locally, that's going to be the cheapest building material in Hawaii. So you're going to have the greenest building material and the cheapest one, making building a lot more affordable than what it currently
Because the
is.
shipping cost is what's killing us.
Yeah, it is. But no matter what we do, it's in everything we have, whether it's
Yeah.
bad insulation, our 2x, our ply, everything. But if we can go out and work with the community to take OSB and be able to manufacture that locally, now even all of our sheathing for even if we're doing traditional framing could be sourced locally. Right?
Wow.
All with trees that cause us an enormous amount of trouble.
So explain those species, those trees, and what that will do to our economy with actually creating jobs, right?
Yeah. So this is kind of a science project, and I'm trying to work with a couple different groups to see if they'd be interested in taking this on. But can we take albizia? Can we take halekoa? Can we take eucalyptus? Can we take bamboo? You know, I have papers that show eucalyptus is one, bamboo is one. They use that in the Southern Hemisphere for their OSB. And so just looking, is that possible? And a lot of it ends up going, what is the resin that goes into this? Because that's what gives it its strength.
Gotcha.
And so I am contacting some of the OSB manufacturers and then trying to link them up with local groups here to see if they would be interested in JVing something. Kind of similar to what we're doing on our SIP side. Our whole goal is to be JVing with Premier SIPs to bring manufacturing here locally.
Yeah. So when you say bad trees, those species alone are not good for our environment. Is that what you mean? Here locally?
Yeah, twofold. They're invasive, first and foremost. So like albizia, cutting that down costs thousands of dollars because as soon as you're cutting it down, it just spreads really quickly. So one tree can cost a couple grand just to take away. Eucalyptus is a problem in itself because it's toxic to the land. So only that tree can survive. And then they have really shallow roots, so they tend to fall over during high winds.
Man, you're like a OSB guru.
I wish I was. I got a really long way to go on that.
Man.
And that's not an adventure I want to take on. But
Yeah.
it's kind of one of the things about SIPs that I love is, you know, my passion is Hawaii is this beautiful culture in itself, right? The melting pot, all the way starting from the Native Hawaiian culture that's just beautiful in the aloha spirit. But the melting pot of all the other cultures and the Asian cultures and the Haole culture and everything, and then just getting along in such a tiny space. But over the last 10 years, especially, I've seen that aloha spirit starting to dwindle more and more, right? Because locals can't afford to be here anymore.
Come on. It's that price out of paradise.
It
man.
is, right?
Yeah.
And when you have CNHA doing their main event in Vegas, because more Hawaiians live in Vegas than they do in Hawaii, something is drastically wrong, right?
Come
So-
on.
Crazy. Yeah.
So one of the ones that we're really trying to partner with is with DHHL. And so we have a great relationship with them currently. And it's really, look, 29,000 Hawaiians on the waiting list. They deserve great homes.
Come on.
But we need to do this in a responsible
How
way.
many on the waiting list?
29,000.
There's 30,000. We're almost there to 50.
Yeah. yeah.
Sheesh.
You know, and they've been promised homes for how long? And, you know, I really want to say Kali Watson is doing a great job.
Come
Like
on.
he is really trying to put Hawaiians in
What's his
homes.
name?
Kali Watson. He's
man.
he's the chairman for DHL right
Yeah,
now. You know.
awesome.
And he has a developer's background, so he understands what it takes to try and get this and move it forward. And so what we're working on really is kind of some kit home styles that we then want to go approach the county on. So we're working on some 700 square foot, 800 square foot, 11, 2,000 square foot plans that will be able to be like, here, you can skip all of the architectural part, right? You're still going to have to do your site mapping and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the
So
bones
it's
of
like
the house,
spec drawings.
it's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, and then if we can get the city and county just to pre-approve those, that actually could expedite the whole permitting process, right?
Exactly.
Like it's already a done deal, at least on the residential building side. I mean, yeah, there has to be the waste, water, and different reviews, but you just knock out one review already.
This might be the missing piece to actually
That's what I'm
getting that
saying, bro.
50,000.
That's why Brian's on here, bro.
Yo, let's go. This is exciting.
Yeah, well, you know, we look at it too and we go, you know this, that like remodels are the hardest things to do.
Come on.
It's like 1950 and you go in and you send a quote and it's, oh, we're going to do this for 250 and you knock down that wall and you're like, yeah, we just went up to 450 because I got to redo all your framing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we can put together a package that goes, hey, we can get all of your materials and we can build and it's going to be 450,000 for a brand new house. then more people are going to be inclined to actually rebuild and make your life much easier. Because the remodel business, and with the prices of materials fluctuating everywhere, it's probably one of the most difficult places to survive.
Well, and it's like from the building side, right? This was one of my challenges as we were growing as a company. I mean, we were going 30, 40, 50 employees. I mean, we were just like spreading, but then I realized the capacity of what people can do. I'm talking about carpenters now.
Yep.
Like, it's hard turnaround for training because you got to put at least 6 years in to be truly that journeyman. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can pretend to put somebody on siding for 4 years and give them a journeyman certificate, but when you're talking about remodels or building homes, there's just so many components. I really wanted to put a training program in place, but the turnaround ROI on that was just nuts because the remodels here, it's just you almost got to be a unique being to do remodels here because you have to be able to understand every aspect of construction. You can't just be like a regular journeyman, you know, that just does framing, because you have to learn everything. So what I loved about this, it's almost like it's a niche. It's a specialty. Like, I could see a lot of jobs being created and quick training.
Yep.
Like, I really think 6 months to a year, you can really produce a lot of qualified installers. Like, almost like, you know, it's just a quicker turnaround on training and a lot of work that you can produce that just knocks out a lot of the trade work. I mean, you still need your concrete guys. You still need your specialty guys like plumbing. But that's the thing. It's like, for carpenters, they need a specialty, you know, and like this would really like bring that home for them. And I like what this can do.
And that was one of the big things for us is we didn't believe in prefab homes for Hawaii because that kills the trades. And there are so many good paying jobs, and bringing the trade programs back to Hawaii is something that I think is really important. And the union is doing a good job of trying to promote that part, right? And as is CNHA, and trying to make sure that we understand these are going to be really good paying jobs going forward. Way better than, you know, working restaurants or Starbucks or things like that. And it's our goal to, how do we simplify that educational process? And SIPs really can do that, right? So Alaska is one of the biggest users of SIPs for multiple reasons. But one of them is they have a lot of labor, but not necessarily trained labor. And so they're able to have guys that help lift panels while you have one guy really reading all the plans, and then you can train them up to get to that point.
Come on.
And so on our SIP teams, actually, our guys that are really good with SIPs aren't actual true carpenters. They just do SIPs.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they fly, right? They'll have a 1,900 square foot home framed in a day with the roof on that part, right? And so you're like...
How long does that take normally for?
Gosh, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks sometimes, depending on the crew. You know, like I've seen crews knock it out 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've seen crews take 6 weeks. But when you're talking 2-3 days,
that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about that is speed is one thing, because labor is the most expensive thing in Hawaii, right?
It is.
It's very different than the mainland, where you can go to Home Depot, get labor for $10 an hour. That changed with COVID. Now it's probably 20, 25. But you're not paying benefits and everything else on there, right? Like, typically, if you're paying a journeyman, you know, you're paying anywhere from $45 to $92 an hour.
And the feet move a little slower here.
They do. It was hot.
It's hot.
It's hot. Like, if you're not prepared to work in the sun and you think you're going to go gangbusters for 8 hours for the rest of your life, you're like, that's not going to work.
You slow down.
Yeah, you slow down. You start
that's
learning
good. It's hot.
what you can handle. Right? It's a marathon on this part.
It is.
But this really does. The speed is going to increase that part. But that also takes away a lot of risk on things, right? Because the riskiest part is, can you get that thing dried in? Can you get it away from the weather? From there, a lot of people can work on things. But SIPs are amazing, not just because they're fast. They're also incredibly strong. So, you know, we had mentioned that Antarctica thing.
Let's hear that. Yeah.
And so what happens is when you join them up, they become shear walls. And so if you're...
Explain shear. Just, I mean, I understand it, but just for your viewer.
I'll let you take the shear part, but I'll kind of explain the point loading in that part.
Yeah.
The fun part for me is always explaining the difference between point loading and then continuous sharing.
Yeah.
And so traditionally we take 2x that were 2x4 originally. And our material sucks so bad now, we can't even get 2x4s. We actually have 1.5 by 3.5. And the interesting part on that was we used to be able to go 24-inch on center with our studs that were then point loading each one of those studs. And so if anything's going, you know, it's relying on that point.
Yep.
What happens with a SIP is it's actually getting shared. So let me borrow this. We imagine this being 8 feet long and 24 feet, right? And we have the lamination process of the OSB to the EPS. And so it's kind of like an I-beam now. And so you have your flanges on the outside that are supporting, and the EPS foam in the middle is actually a webbing. And so now any load that's being put on this is being shared throughout that whole panel, not just one 2x.
Yeah.
And that's what gives it so much strength. And then everyone goes, yeah, but it's EPS foam. Like, that's super weak, right? Styrofoam. Styrofoam's actually used under roads and bridges. And underneath Yankee Stadium, they actually have that. And that's another thing is like, all of our freaking roads that are falling apart all the time, what if the bottom layer was EPS under there? That's hydrophobic, so now water's not going to destroy it every time you get a rain. And then you fill the top layer, with your gravel or whatever you're using for that part. And you're like, that would be another industry that we could create off of this part.
Wow.
And so the waste material from the EPS at any point, we can recycle it, but that might be another area where we could be putting the EPS foam in Hawaii. Yeah. So a lot of, really green people are like, there's always no home for foam. If we put our brains to it,
no home for foam.
Yeah, there are a ton of ways that we can be reusing everything locally and being sustainable.
In the film industry, they have these like boxes, different size boxes. You can use them for like multiple things, but I've seen one that's used just made out of foam.
Yeah.
It's super light and it holds way more than the box. So I was like, this is crazy. I don't know why people aren't using it in other things. But now when you talk about this, Brian, I'm like, yo, this is people are gonna get ideas going.
Yeah, so the strength is incredible. And then the other thing is it kind of takes us back to single wall construction. Because typically, right, we put our sheeting on the outside, we put our 2x, but we don't have that sheeting on the inside. But if you need shear walls, you got to put both sides, right? And a lot more hardware. It takes more time. Plywood is incredibly expensive at this point in time. But with this, you're actually getting double-sided walls. And so now when you're thinking about hanging your cabinets, you think about hanging your TV, whatever you want to do, you can go straight onto that OSB panel on the inside. But the other beauty of this is not just strength, it's actually quality of it. And engineered everything is much cleaner and straighter than what we get out of 2x, right? Our 2x are all young growth trees that are bowing and crazy, and all you're doing the whole time is trying to fix that. And then you get people complaining like, look, I just paid you X amount of dollars, my house is not straight. And you're like, wow, I don't know how to fix that, right? Like we have techniques and it works, but over time, your 2x start expanding as they get hot and cold. And then that starts cracking drywall. And you get nail pops, you get other problems, right? With this continuous insulation on that, you don't have anything heating up in your wall. Yeah. And the other thing about the wall is...
But it's so straight, like you got to get your concrete on point.
So if you're not,
it's like the dreamer carpenter. They want everything to be straight, but here you go. Here's a product. Now it's like, oh shucks.
Because you can't. If you're off on your concrete half an inch in the middle, then you're sagging like this in the middle too, and now your top plate is off and everything, right? So you have to shim.
Careful what you ask for.
Yeah. It's precise, and now you have to be precise. But there's tricks on that part. But you're right. The whole key to this is taking the time in the beginning. Go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you hit the expensive part of what construction really is, because the design phase much cheaper than once you're in the middle of that house.
Yep.
And doing corrections on thing is the most expensive because you're all the way in the end, right? Yep. So that's why SIPs can be a huge benefit to Hawaii, getting you dried in, but the quality of that part. And engineered things are really what transformed building in itself. Like you think trusses, we used to timber frame everything, and that would take time and it was expensive. And then engineered trusses where they knew what the load calcs were and how it all go together. That really simplified the building process. And this is just taking it a step further and going
doing it in the walls
and the roof and the floor. It's all pre-engineered.
So they literally build the roof panels too. I was watching them. They crane it up and just lay it on, and then it's like just like the pre-engineered truss, but this all flows, right? It's already sheathed and everything.
Yeah, if you take a look at our website, I think we have one of the videos up, and it shows, it kind of looks like one of the Star Destroyers. It just gets lifted up and it just gets dropped down. And so we framed that roof in 3 hours.
Man.
And so you're like that part with all of your insulation on that's where you're losing a majority of your heat transfer. And we're reaching an R32 on that. The crazy part when it comes down to the green side and the energy efficiency is our 4-inch wall actually outperforms a fiberglass 6-inch wall.
Wow.
And so you're like, now you can do, smaller walls, cheaper construction, but be more energy efficient off your house.
Wow. Let's talk big picture. So what is inventory like? What if let's just say the government was like, yo, this is the answer like we're looking for, and said, Brian, what do we got to do to pump this out? I mean, what's the next move? Like, what would you say? What would be your response to that?
So Premier has 2 manufacturing plants, one in Montana and one in Washington. And currently they're only operating 12 hours a day. So if we had a huge push for that, we would then up that to trying to get 24-hour crews. But the beauty in this is actually the ease and with we can bring manufacturing here. So they can press panels really quickly. What takes them time is getting everything cut out and actually prefabbed. And we can set up actual little shops here. They don't even have to be huge. And we could be doing that locally. And so all of the splines that go in, all of the other extra steps, we can set that up really quickly to be able to meet demand. So I think that's one of the huge things that's a benefit on what we're trying to do. If you try and bring a regular prefab manufacturer here, it's going to take 100,000 square feet. You got to get all these machines, all these other materials. We can do one CNC, some benches, and some vacuums that collect all the things and help us with all of the waste material.
Kickstarting those, like say if I were to go get some properties right now and getting the CNC machines over here, like we're talking 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah, I think 6 months is a pretty realistic number. 6 months, 12 months. Yeah.
And then to partner, still you got to get species of wood.
That one is a long process.
Yeah,
okay, so that one there is even for us to press the panels, you have to go back and do all of your code reports. And so one of the big things for us is we're ICC, IRC, IBC approved. And that's a huge deal because now the county looks at this and they go, okay, you are an approved building material. You have tested everything. We know what this is. And so they don't have a problem with this coming in. But if we were to do it in Hawaii, we would then have to retest all of those things, which are millions of dollars, and it takes a lot of time.
I see. Wow. So right now, to expedite, we just do a big shipment, almost like doing what Washington's doing, but saying, hey, we're going to set up shop, just send the material here. So we'd have to store the material.
Correct.
And then we would fabricate the material that we get shipped over here.
Correct.
Now, if we were to get all that rolling, what would be the next? I mean, that's getting it all producing, but the next step is make sure we can get architectural spec drawings, right?
Yeah, and so twofold on that. The nice part about SIPs is you can customize anything, and that's why I wanted you to come out and look at our houses because we really went with the Tesla model. Super high-end custom
and
home.
Dude, just to highlight, that's what I love about this. It's not a cookie cutter home. It is like a cookie cutter system and a niche and a specialty, but you can customize the home still. So you can feel unique as a homeowner. A builder can build something unique. A designer can design something unique. Because what I love, one of my favorite places to visit is San Francisco because every home is so different. Like I love that though. You know, it's artistic, it's unique. And here, what kind of it's drowns you is like, you know, Kapolei Knolls. Not everyone who lives there, not knocking, but it's just like these cookie cutter homes that are just repeating. Even we're in Ho'opili and, you know, they're just, it's like the whole island's just full of the same house. It's nothing unique about that. But designers can still have their unique taste and homeowners can still customize, right?
100%. And you could do, that's one of the things is working with the planners and the architects of really taking like 5-7 models in just one neighborhood. And then really making them look very unique and rotating them properly and doing different things. And then mixing agriculture in with different things to make it look really nice and landscaping. And we're really excited on that side. Yeah.
So let's say we start getting, the city and county gets this approved. You got manufacturer spots built up. We start inventorying the product. And then we start getting homeowners to believe, architects to believe to use this product and homeowners believe in like how many. Like let's just say if I were like, man, this is mandatory use. Yeah. Like I think that's where this should start going. Like you gotta, not to like trump Home Depot and Lowe's, but they might say they start seeing like this is a product that needs to be used. Is there a fear or a want that they would want to grab that from you as a distributor? You know, they try to trump every angle.
I don't think Home Depot would want SIPs because they do a lot of remodeling stuff. It's not so much the new build side. Gotcha. I think. I don't see that part happening. As far as your question on how much manufacturing do you need, like we can scale this as much as we possibly need, and we can continue to grow it. So let's say we needed to do 10,000 units in Hawaii a year. We could definitely pump that part.
Wow, that's what I was looking for. I was wondering in a realistic like run, you start getting this approved, looking at spaces, getting the product over inventory, you could pump out 10,000.
So for example, we're looking at ADU units, 700. I mean, 700 square feet. And I asked the manufacturer, how many of these can you get me a day? And they said 15. So I'm like, we can't even put up 15 in a day. So we'll be good on that side.
Well, then you look at the side of how many builders are on island that can do it. So if you had 1,000 builders doing 1,000 homes each a year,
Yeah.
then you can hit 10,000 in a year. So there's like that double whammy, right? It's like, it's like,
Basically, if everyone bought in and
yeah, you got to get,
work
but
together,
that's the first key. Get everyone bought in,
Yep.
right? And then get the inventory over here. And then training, getting builders trained and understanding, architects trained on how to design these, and then start, pumping them out. I mean, look at all these homes falling apart, these single wall homes. Like if we could do an affordable price to just get them a new home or an ADU, if this is just at least on ADUs for now, just pumping them out for ADUs. Like we have had a partner in Cali where we were trying to really pump out ADUs or module homes and come up with a systematic way of doing it. And what I believe is it's like, okay, so if you have all these homes, right? Homeowners, they have mortgages, and if they have the land, if there was a banking, like partnering with banks.
That's exactly where I was going to.
Yeah. So if we could partner with banks, and if there is some kind of loan program that, because if I'm a homeowner and I got a mortgage and I'm having a tough time, and if you came knocking on my door and say, I have a loan that will do two things for you. I'll give you a break for 12 months on your mortgage. So you get caught up. You don't got to pay anything, but we're going to put an ADU on your land, and then you're going to use it to rent it out.
Yep.
And so when you come back and we're going to pour that loan into your mortgage, you're going to actually supplement that new income in there, and your mortgage is going to be less.
Yep.
And I could promise that.
Yep.
Right?
That's what we've been working on a lot too, is trying to come up with that 800 square foot model where we're not only going to supply just SIPs, but we're actually going to do Belmont cabinets, ply gem doors and windows.
Come on.
We're going to help with the whole thing, all the materials, and go here. So for the builder, you come to me and I go,
It's a
here's
done
this
deal.
whole, there you go. And then if you need whatever you need off of that, if you need hardy on the outside, if you need metal roofing, whatever you want, I'm going to make your life easier. And so that's something that we're actively working inside, and then going with the county and trying to approach them and say, hey, for these models, but you had the missing piece, which is the real challenge, is trying to get that loan to make sure you can build that part.
Yeah.
And that is the tricky one. But I agree with you. Like ADUs are so important because any family that owns land or a house in Hawaii is land rich, but might be cash poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is, but we need 50,000 units by 2025, right?
Gotta cut the Snickers in half.
Yeah, got to cut it in half. And one of the ways to do that is definitely have ADUs on that, because then the individual that owns that home has some sort of income coming in. But now you have a type of workforce housing where, let's say someone's working hotel jobs, other types of jobs, but they're not making $150,000 a year. They can afford $1,200, $1,000 a month. And you have a 2-bedroom unit and they have a roommate, right? And so that is really the missing piece in Hawaii. It's not so much affordable housing, because affordable housing, we're working on that. But as soon as you get a real job, you don't qualify to live there anymore. So you're like, why do I want to work harder if I can't have a house?
Yeah.
Right? And so you're like, you got to have something that's real, true workforce housing, that even if you wanted to rebuild your house, you could do it for $400,000.
Right.
Because I bet you as a construction company, you were much busier when it's $400,000. Now it's $1 million. It becomes a lot more difficult for people to want to rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then getting that loan to qualify for that is extra hard too.
Yeah.
So having something that we're bringing back affordable builds is going to be the key to all of this. And scale is going to be really important for us. The more we can scale them, the cheaper we can make
Right.
this.
Yeah. And that's always the case is it has to be something where, as soon as it's almost like a franchise, you can do 10 of them, then you can bring the price down, and just you're doing little pieces all over the place, then you can keep doing this. But if you're just trying to hit one place, it's super expensive, to operate. But no, I think, Brian, this is a big missing piece, but I think it's so close. I don't think it's far away. Like, you know what I mean? You guys have been working really hard behind the scenes on just conquering all the different areas to make sure this is going to be an operating thing here pretty soon. But you're launching up homes right now. Tell us about some of these homes that are like your showpieces right now.
well, we got a beautiful one going on in Kohala right now, which I really want you to come take a look
there.
at. And that's we really went down the Tesla model. And we want to make the Tesla X first and the S, and just show what this can truly do and how beautiful it can be. And then if we're doing everyday homes, you're like, look, you are living in a home now. It's not a house.
Yeah.
Right? It's cool. It's comfortable. It's straight. You can have 10-foot high ceilings. You can have 12-foot high ceilings because with the way we do it, right, you can have your panels go up 8 foot high, but you gable your roof and you can then just catch it with one center beam and you're eliminating all the truss costs, all these other things, but you don't live in an 8-foot box anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You live in a
That's
12-foot high ceiling.
And that's a game changer. Like I remember the first time I went from an 8-foot ceiling to a 9-foot ceiling.
Oh,
It is crazy, Ray. That 1 foot, if you look up, this is 9 foot on purpose.
yeah.
Quality of life.
It
goes
is.
up.
It's a quality
Yeah.
of life. It's something it does to you. That 1 foot, it just opens your brain, man. It's I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, that 8-foot box can do something to you.
Yeah. And so all of my partners, we came together. We didn't have to do this at all. But we
This is
saw
good.
the problems with Hawaii. And we're like, this is the one missing piece that kind of unlocks everything.
Yeah.
In our humble opinion, really humble opinion. On
I
our
agree.
part. But so we call, our mantra is uluvehi, or a thriving ecosystem, right? And build with the environment and not against it. And SIPs absolutely accomplish that part. And then we look at Hawaii and the 3 areas that we are really struggling. And if we can unlock these 3 areas, then I think we're going to see that aloha spirit thrive. And the first one is housing, right? The 50,000 units, that's no joke. And everybody is just scrambling to stay alive. Hard to have aloha spirit when you can't take care of your own family, right? The second one is jobs. And this is that circular economy and keeping it. And how can we innovate within this space to create different jobs?
Yeah.
And the third one is sustainability. So even if we meet the 50,000, but we're destroying the environment to do that, and we're not meeting the energy needs that people need, and we're increasing costs on construction, on the end user, on everybody, that doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where SIPs are going to get you that energy savings on your house. But they're going to be green from the way they start. We're not filling up our landfills with a ton of waste. So I'm like, I have not personally seen something that makes more sense for Hawaii. And we are super passionate about that part, all the way from, my other business partners who really had no need to take this on. I don't even have a building background, right? I own a medical distribution company. I've been very blessed to do that. But I saw innovation the whole time. And, we went from absolutely having big incisions to tiny little incisions to using robots. And you look at this, and we've been stick framing since 1877, and we're still stick framing. It's like taking a Model T and being like, we're just going to drive that just because that's the easiest way to do it. And that's so painful to watch.
So Brian, you're like walking down the road one day and then a SIP panel fell on your head. I mean, how did you like discover the passion for this?
So the house that you went to go look at in Kauai, I was actually very blessed to be able to buy that. And we wanted to build
so
that.
you love it so much, you did it on your own home.
Oh, there was zero doubt. I was like, there was no way I'd build it.
You're
with
not the
anything
guy who sells Coke and won't even drink it.
else. No, that I was like, absolutely, I want my house.
There you
too.
go.
And I would never ever build a house any other way outside of SIPs at this point in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
But because of that, my other business partner, and they own DTC Construction, and then they're also on our side. They had a friend who did a house in Washington, 4,200 square foot house, 20-foot grand room, and they framed that whole thing in 4 days.
Sounds nuts.
But
That's what I need, man. I need these guys to finish houses or finish framing in 4 days.
I was
man.
like, holy cow. So I went in that house because I was like, okay, I want to go up, look at manufacturing, and I want to see the house. And I walked in there and I'm like, man, this thing is so straight. And it's just huge. And because we can span 8 by 24 feet, it's just one panel, every 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, holy cow. So we go to look at the manufacturing plant and look how clean it is and everything and what their mission. And I'm like, this is something I'm going to take on at great risk, right? Like, we have poured an enormous amount of time and money into this. And everyone was like, you guys are crazy. But if we don't take this upon ourselves as a community and not count on anyone else to do it for us, we're never going to get anywhere.
And there's a bigger picture I think you've seen that day. You didn't see, a product and a business opportunity. Yeah. You saw, oh my gosh, this is the answer for my home.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And when you mean by home, Hawaii.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it was.
Exactly.
It wasn't my
so
house,
good.
right?
Yep.
It was the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean,
Yep.
is your home here on the island. It's like you saw the answer to a lot. It's like, I know that feeling when it's like, it like it knitted everything together. Like, oh my gosh, this is it.
Exactly.
And then I feel that in your passion, man.
Yeah. And so it goes all the way from schools. Like, one of the things that we're seeing in Maui right now is that you got 2,500 displaced students, and what are you doing about classrooms for that? And so we have already modular buildings that can be taken apart and then transported when they need to become permanent. And the really cool part about this, though, is you can actually build that probably in 2 weeks. And then you can put solar on it and run it completely off grid. So rather than having generators, the little trailers, like there are all sorts of different avenues that SIPs make sense. Schools are a great one, right? We're constantly like, oh, the kids are so hot in school. This is ridiculous. It's expensive to build a school. You know, we do schools in Alaska where it takes them 2 months to put up 50,000 square feet.
Wow.
And you're like, what are the cost savings on that? Like, of labor in Hawaii in 2 months, saving that over 8 months is gigantic. So that's where the community part really came in. Was SIPs are not just for homes, right? They're also for commercial buildings. They are for schools and community centers.
Oh,
and,
there's so much you can do with this.
yeah.
What is that noise?
Oh,
Time.
oh.
Dang.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
On the topic of being approved by like city and county, I can't imagine them being opposed to this with all the benefits that SIPs has to offer. What do you think would be an opposition for them or from them?
You know, thankfully, we haven't had any issues with county on that side. And I think it's because of the code report, because it is all clearly laid out what it is. I have had an inspector go out and look at electrical and go, you know what, I'm going to pass you, but don't close up your walls next time. And it goes, I'm sorry, well, these are SIPs, so they're like this. And you kind of have to walk them through that part. But
that just comes with time.
yeah, exactly. Time and education.
Yep.
And so the really interesting part is codes are what has really driven up the cost of construction in Hawaii, right? Because energy efficiency, structural, all these other things, whether it be having to construct a safe room, but SIPs are actually one of those areas that meet all of those things without increasing cost. So I agree with you. Government is going to look at this and go, this is what I've been screaming about the whole time, is that we need to build better, more resilient structures that are greener for the earth. But we had to innovate, and that part wasn't introduced to Hawaii yet. Right? And there were other people who have done SIP homes in Hawaii. We are not the first. But to take this adventure on, you need a lot of just desire, and you need a whole team, right? You need a construction company. You need a development company who's going to do their own properties. You need a sales. You need to be out there meeting everybody you possibly can, explaining how this can help. And
Education's first.
it is. It really is. And then not only that, the training part that you said, right? And this is where Premier, you know, that in Hawaii, we have a really unique chance. Premier on the mainland, they're a SIP manufacturer. SIP Systems Hawaii, we are a community builder, right? We're going to go out and train trades to be able to do this, to help it grow and really flourish, because it is new and you can mess this up really easily. And if you know, I send this to you and your job goes really poorly on the first one, you're never going to want to work with me again.
Right.
Oh, it sounded great. It was great. And I had to cut in the foam. I had to do all this crap. Now you screwed me out of this and I'm done. So it's like, look, we have the construction company to be able to work with you, to come out and train your guys to be able to learn how to do this. Or sub us out. And we're, you know, if we have the manpower and time, we'll definitely come out and do it for you. But more so is the education of the community, because we can't do it all. Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. What I love about partnering with other builders, like I don't want to do it all.
Right.
You know, as a builder, like we're good. Like, but the island's not.
Exactly.
You know, so that's why we're even here today, investing time trying to we need more builders. We do need more builders. We need builders to get on board with this, to get trained on this, to understand like it'll be better for you, it'll be better for the community. What is to close this out, what's your next big step like in this? Like what's the next chess move?
That's a really challenging question, because we got a lot of stuff in the background, and I kind of feel uncomfortable answering some of that part, but only because
don't disclose anything that will not help this move forward. But to move forward, if you could voice something that could help, what would be the next big thing?
To believe there's a better way for everybody who's watching, right? There is a much better way to build your home.
Like be open
to it, right? Don't be afraid of it. Like embrace the change. And that's one thing in Hawaii that we've always done it this way. But this is the time with the crisis that we have. Embrace change.
Embrace it for the better, for sure. This is a lot of legwork. This has history. Man, Brian, we appreciate you voicing and educating us and educating the viewers just on what's coming. Because when it does come, it is coming. You know, it starts with people like you being passionate about, you know, it's not about, you're passionate about the product, but it goes through the product, and you're passionate about the islands. And that's what I loved about you when I met you and I heard your heart when we were in Kauai. You weren't training. You were past the training. Like I could see it, man. You have to start here and train us on this product, but I could feel your heart and your voice and eyes were looking at the islands, you know? And I was like, man, like this is it. Like this is a key component, like you said, to unlock everything.
We have kids, right? And
we do. I have grandkids.
And we watch. Well, that's freaking wild.
So legacy is like important for me. I have a lot of grandkids.
It's huge. And watching where Hawaii has gone over the last couple of decades, right? We can make a change and we can become. This was a fully sustainable place for, generations and generations, and we've become reliant on absolutely everything when we don't need to, right?
We
can grow
need to.
Like food wise. You look at, I think it's the Netherlands, right? They're like the number 3 producer in the world for produce, and you're like, why can't we just grow our own food? Whether it's hydroponic or on land, like we should not be importing nearly what we do. And so that part is going to have to get addressed. But housing is also the other really big issue. And I feel like that's going to unlock this for this really to thrive and create generations of happiness. And we can be an example for the world. We really can. And through every tragedy and that we're looking at, we have an opportunity in front of us to do things different, to come together as a community and rebuild this properly the way it was meant to be.
Yeah. Man, Brian, thank you so much for coming to the Boat, Builder of All Things podcast. That's really what it is, man. It's just we're in a season where we're trying to be a voice to learn.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm learning. I want to meet people like you and learn what's next and what can we do to implement a better environment building opportunity for all of us. So thank you for coming down and making some time for us. We know you're busy.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the work you're doing in the community to try and grow and try and really help people understand how to build, how we can do it better, and then even just how we're going to do permitting better. I mean, you've been amazing, so thank you so much as well.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. It's things have to move forward. Like that's a thing I learned in golfing. You have to be going forward. You're going backwards. You're not doing something right. So as long as you're moving forward, one step at a time. But man, thanks, bro. Appreciate you for coming on, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, guys.
I come from a poor family, yeah. We ain't never had a lot, yeah. But the Lord been good to us, yeah. Now we riding on the top, yeah. I come from a poor